What's up everyone, Looca here. In this video I'm going to be ranking the good habits to rank up. Let's go. First up, we got champ select intensity. When I say champ select intensity, what I mean is instead of sitting on Twitter or YouTube, pay attention to what's happening around you. A lot of times, before the game even starts, you can already get like a kind of an idea of like what item build you want to go with that game or how to team fight. So I've noticed in myself that if I'm a little bit more attentive in champ select, that the games generally feel to go a lot smoother from the start and that I have a better idea of what the win conditions are. So this is going into B tier. Next up, we got small champ pool. Keeping your champ pool small is pretty important actually in League, mainly because if you have a small champ pool, especially when you're starting to climb, focusing on things outside of your champion can be very beneficial to improve. So for example, let's say you're like a Dr. Mundo one trick, you mastered your champion, you can then start focusing more on tracking the jungler and becoming good at knowing the timers and then getting good at the level up timers. It just allows for more mental space to think about other things rather than piloting your champion. So because of that, the small champion pool goes into A tier. Next up, we got getting coaching. You don't always know the mistakes that you're making because some plays, they don't have this instant feedback loop. For example, when you die, the game tells you you made a mistake. You can go into the replay and review it. But sometimes the mistake you made was, you didn't open up on the map properly and then you missed out on a potential play. Or you overstayed on the map, you didn't recall in time and now you're off tempo and now you can't make a play that you should have been able to make. So the potential, right? The possible plays that you should have made that you didn't make, you don't really necessarily get instantly punished for those, but you don't see them in your replays, so it's hard to improve on them. And that's where a coach can step in and explain those concepts. And I remember in my personal career, every time I got coaching from someone and they explained a concept to me, I just understood it and had like this instant jump in skill level. Also, it's kind of motivating to get coaching and you start tryharding a little bit more the next couple games. So overall, I think this might be a bit controversial, but I am putting coaching in S tier. And no, I'm not biased. Next up, we got communication. What I mean with communication is basically pinging to your team what you want them to do, pinging when your laner is roaming, typing in chat what you want from your team. Most people don't mute pings, and in a lot of games when you spam ping and kind of take control, take like this, I like to call it like the driver's seat, your team will listen to you, especially when you're the win condition, right? If you're really fed that game, let's say you're 18-0 and your team is like kind of struggling, if you ping exactly what you want your team to do, they will subconsciously or consciously listen to you because they respect you. And if they want to win to some degree, then they're going to be listening to you and following your calls. A lot of times, I see people blaming their team for dying, but then they didn't even ping their team that they shouldn't have walked up. And maybe there's a 30% chance that your team wouldn't walk up if you pinged. And now suddenly the game looks to be a lot better. You might have actually won that game. So I actually think that communication can make you win at least like 20% more games. So this is going in B tier. Next up, we got camera control. Camera control is, in my opinion, very underrated. First of all, playing with locked cam, it can make it so you don't really know what's happening around you, especially in team fights. And honestly, it's not really, there are no negatives to learning how to play with unlocked cam. It's not like it's harder. It's not like it takes more effort. Learning it takes more effort, but once you've learned it and mastered it, which happens quite fast, well, now you just have an literal, objectively more information to absorb, which is just better. And not only that, often when you're deciding whether to move to a play or TP there, the deciding factor would be to look at what's happening in the fight, right? And sometimes you're hitting a wave on side lane, so then it's hard to put your camera to the bottom right of your screen and press left click and then see what's happening in the fight, but then also hit your wave at the same time. So that's why I think camera keys, aka F keys, are really efficient and really important to use. I personally put my camera keys, I don't think the F1 to F4 buttons are realistic for me, so I put them on Z, X, C, and V, and it's really easy for me to access those keys. And if you ever watch my gameplay, I'm spamming them a lot because I need to know what's happening. Sometimes I'm laning and my jungler is going to gank me, and then I just press C real quick and see their exact location, and I know when to go in. And sometimes I need to make a TP play, and I need to know how the fight's going, so I'm just holding space. And then while holding space, sometimes I hold C and then my camera goes from me to my team and then I let go of C, it goes back to myself. And that way I'm able to push waves while also looking at fights. Sometimes a student asks me, should I move to this play? And I say, I don't even know the answer to that because I don't even see how the play is going. So camera control, Another one where I will put this one in B tier. Discipline. Okay, so I've had a couple students who came to me and they asked me, what do you think of discipline? In League, there's 2 ways to use discipline. The first way is to simply be disciplined in game. You know, if you know you're weak-sided, don't walk up to trade because the enemy jungler is going to be there and you're just going to die. Or you have to drop a wave sometimes. That's called discipline. Like knowing that you're going to lose something, but respecting holding your flash because there's a Drake spawning in 1 minute and that's like a more important fight than killing the Owen 8 Azir. That's discipline. Now, when it comes to the overall climb, discipline, you can also use it to, and a lot of people think, oh, you just need to be disciplined like David Goggins and, you know, play more League and be obsessed. The problem with this is that you're going to burn out, right? And you shouldn't do something when you don't want to do it. Discipline is a very finite resource, like kind of like mana is, right? And it regenerates slowly, but it can be used up all the way. And when it's used up, you don't have anything left and you're going to be burnt out. So you shouldn't be playing League when you don't feel like it. You should be playing League only when you're in a mood or in your, you know, if you want to play League. You shouldn't be playing the game when you don't want to. And that's where discipline comes into play. If you're addicted to the game, you should be using discipline to not play the game. You should be disciplined enough to lay down the game. Don't queue up instead of having the discipline to do it even though you don't want to. That's how I view it. I've had this in my career a lot where I feel like, you know, I have to play League because I have to improve. And if I don't play, I'm going to fall behind. It's actually the opposite way around. You need to not play the game, give yourself a break, and then wait to be back in the mood to play again instead of just forcing it. So discipline is going into A tier. Actually, A tier, if I look at the others, I'll put it into B tier. All right. Pressing tab. Now, this is going straight into S tier without a doubt. Basically, the skill that separates really good players from decent players is the ability to absorb information, the ability to gather as much info as possible, to make as many good decisions as possible, because League of Legends is a game of making high-quality decisions. I always say low-quality decisions are based on intuition and high-quality decisions are based on information. So what this means is if you want to be a high quality player, you need to be pressing tab a lot. You need to be looking at the minimap a lot. You need to absorb as much info as possible. And that's where pressing tab comes into play. Press tab when you're recalling, press tab when you're walking out of base, press tab the moment the game starts. You need to absorb as much info as possible. You need to see what the enemy item spikes are. You need to see how many drakes you have. You need to see who outscales who. You need to see who the win conditions are. You need to see what items to buy. You need to see how to team fight. All of this stuff. You can only do this if you press tab. So good players press tab a lot, and they don't just press tab to press it. They look for specific things when they press tab. So this is going right into S tier. If you want to rank up and be a good player, you need to absorb a lot of info, press tab a lot. Next up, we got IRL cleanup. This one is kind of underrated. I don't see people talk about this too often, but when your environment is just full of unnecessary visual clutter, it's going to mess up your gameplay. It's going to mess up your focus. And I've tended to notice this a lot myself. If there's like a couple cups on my desk or it's like an unnecessary thing on my desk, I just get like this kind of anxious, you know, like subconsciously unclean feeling, if that makes sense. And it just takes away from my focus. So I highly suggest you guys clean your room and clean your setup and make sure that there's, you know, as little visual clutter as possible. So putting this in C tier, important, but not as much as the others, but still want you guys to do that. Next up, we got a pre-game intensity check. Pre-game intensity check is what you do when you are about to queue up and you just sit there. And what you got to do is you got to ask yourself, am I playing League because I want to, or am I playing League because I am tilted and I'm just, you know, I'm tilt queuing, or am I playing League because I'm bored, or am I playing League because I feel like I have to for some reason to prove myself? Why are you playing the game? So important to ask yourself this. If you're not playing League because the answer is I want to play the game and I'm excited and I'm in the mood to play and it's going to be fun. If the answer is not that, then why are you playing the game? Like, you're just like feeding this negative cycle of addiction or coping, and you shouldn't play League in order to distract yourself unless, you know, you are aware of it and you're actively doing that on purpose. Then it's fine, I suppose. But if you're trying to climb, at least, this is one of the worst things you can do, and you're just going to be stuck. So the pregame intensity check is going into A tier. Very important that you guys figure out why you're playing the game and do this every time before you queue up for a block. Okay, so then we got caffeine. Caffeine, it definitely boosts your performance. It's funny because the thing about caffeine is people who regularly consume it, they kind of need it to be at their baseline level. And people who don't really consume it, if they consume it even a little bit, they're going to be, at a really high level. So caffeine is like pretty broken, I would say. If you've been consuming caffeine a lot, it can actually negatively impact you because now you're reliant on it, right? You're dependent on the caffeine rather than it being like a little boost. So I would say it goes into B tier because, you don't want to have that situation where you're dependent on it like me. But yeah, it can be good for people who don't often drink or consume caffeine. So next up, we got settings. Settings are, having target champs only on, using smart cast, or quick cast rather, instead of normal cast, having the right mouse sensitivity, everything combined. There are a couple objectively correct settings that you just should for sure use because there's no downside to it. The only downside might be that, it's hard to learn. Okay, really, is that your reasoning? I mean, the one I mentioned, the target champs only, yeah, that's a perfect example. Everyone should have this setting, and if you don't use it, you're just lazy. Same with, in my opinion, camera keys. If you don't have camera keys, what are you doing? It's hard to learn maybe, but like honestly, stop being a bitch. Go on your Smurf account, play 15 games of Shen, and learn the camera keys, and come back, and now you know how to use camera keys on every champion. So settings, I think they go into C tier. Definitely important, but not as important as the others. Networking. This is a fun one. Now, what I mean with networking is I kind of mean like surrounding yourself with players who are better than you. And the way to do that is to join Discords, join communities, talk to your favorite streamer, maybe get to know them a little bit and maybe they like you. And then you can, ask them for advice. Just generally speaking, having people who are willing to help you improve in your little circle can be a massive plus point and a massive privilege to have. I was good friends with some players that are a lot better than me. And I definitely noticed that it helped me to some degree. So if you have like people who are willing to help you, that's good. Put it in D tier, not because it's useless, but because relatively to the other things, it's not as impactful, I would say. But I still think that one's pretty good. Next one is the learning objective. Yes, guys, if you want to take a really systematic approach to improving, you need to set learning objectives for yourself. You need to know, what am I working on right now? What am I going to be doing? I remember when level up timers became meta, when Alois just did his fundamental stuff, I started to focus on, okay, right now, for the next week, I'm going to learn these level up timers. What I did was I went on a Smurf and I just solely focused on level up timers only. I literally sat there and I just dropped everything I knew from the game on my Smurf, only focused on every single level up timer. Within 20 games, I was so good at it. Like, I literally hyper focused on it. And I went on my main and I was just good at level up timers. And this is the reality of setting learning objectives. Not everyone learns at the same speed, obviously, but when you set a learning objective, you will improve on this area of your game so much faster. And then you move on to the next one, and then you learn that area of the game, and then on the next one, etc. And now you're, instead of passively learning everything, you're actively trying to learn things at a lower rank. And then you try to implement it on a higher rank, and that's how you improve. So this is definitely going into A tier. Okay, next up, taking notes. So the way I see this is some people, they like take notes really rigorously and super detailed, and I think that can be a bit of a waste of time. Often, when I see someone do like, they write their matchup and their score, and then they write, oh, this game I got camped by the jungler, next time respect a bit more. That is useless. Why did you have to respect? What information did you fail to pick up? The way you should be taking notes is you should be writing down what is your learning objective that game. And then pre-game notes, you don't necessarily need to make them, but you should have your notes, you should have your learning objective and the information surrounding that learning objective on the side of your PC, on your second monitor or somewhere, so you can look at those notes before you go into the game. So you just remind yourself, the first folk clear is done at this minute, and then the second folk clear starts here. And if your learning objective is to track the jungler, that's super useful information. And now after the game, the notes you make were track the jungler really well this game, respected the weak side. And then something like, I could have done a 2-wave crash instead of a 3-wave crash, because if I'm strong side, the wave will be closer to my side. So next time, if I'm able to identify it, etc. So again, this is why a learning objective is so important. Taking notes and just typing like, oh, this game was a mid cap, and I died too much, next time respect more. It's just like so vague, and like it's just completely, it's just complete mental. You just lost your soul if you do that. So make sure your notes are in line with the learning objective you have, and the notes you do at the end of the game should be very specific and try to kind of problem solve the problems you had, And if you don't know, well then, go to a coach, go to a player who's better than you and ask him to help you. This is going into D tier, C tier actually. I'm putting this into C tier. If you take good notes, it can be very helpful. If you take bad notes, it's just, a waste of time. So going into C tier. No music. Now, I know some people get more focused from listening to music, but I also know that a lot of people, they're just kind of bored, so they put music on. In my opinion, the best way to climb League is to play without music, without Discord, and with streamer mode and chat off. But you need to make sure you can still chat yourself. That way you eliminate every distraction. And I think the only music that I would find acceptable is the one without any lyrics. So like, what, like, for example, people like Dantes or those streamers listen to, right? Subconsciously, if there's lyrics in the music, you're going to like listen to them and, whatever. I think that it depends on the player, but I'm putting this into B tier because in my opinion, for me at least, playing without music definitely helps, and it sets the tone as for the game as well. So that's where I'm ranking it. Okay. Next up, we got the growth mindset. With the growth mindset, the idea is that you stay a student of the game at all times, and you try to find things that you could have done better every single game. Even if your team died while you were on side, you should just ask yourself, what could I have done better? And how can I take responsibility for this? And that falls in line with, oh, my communication wasn't good enough. I should have pinged them more because I could have seen the enemies engaging coming, even though my team didn't. Taking accountability for every little thing and having this mindset of like, never think that I couldn't have done anything better. And just constantly have this, super open to feedback, open to learning stuff mentality. That's a super important thing, and you can actively work on this. You can actively try to implement this in yourself. Sometimes, in the game itself, I become a bit emotional and I become tilted, but then like once I'm cooled down and 5 minutes after the game, I come to earth and then I'm like, okay, you know what, I blame my jungler, but technically I kind of made a mistake here. So, that's kind of the growth mindset showing itself there. So yeah, in my opinion, growth mindset should go in B tier. Okay, the warm-up game. So it just depends on the type of person you are, honestly. Like I never needed a warm-up game in my life. I've never needed to, get the int out or whatever you want like to call it. I definitely believe in warming up though. I think that when you haven't played League yet, your hands are cold, literally. And that can affect the amount of times you can click and how fast you can click and stuff. In terms of like how fast your brain can react and think, stuff like going for walks is even more effective than a warm-up game. And so in my opinion, you don't really need this. So I'm putting this in D tier. There might be people out there who are just completely reliant on this. And to you, I say, try going for a walk, try doing some activity, then going for a game, because I'm pretty sure for you, a warm-up game is just a ritual, like any other ritual, for example, stretching first or drinking coffee first, that your brain just kind of needs to set up the pattern and then play well. But that's only because you built this pattern up over a long time. You can break it down as well. So warm-up game, I don't really believe in it that much, but yeah. Next up, we got practice tools. Practice tool is something that you shouldn't always be doing, but specific skills are harder to learn when you're playing a real game because of the fact that you can get lower reps on them in a real game. So for example, when you are trying to practice how to perfectly auto-cancel on Jax or Camille, in a real game, if you want to practice this, you're getting practice, but the amount of reps you get per game are just far less than if you just go in practice tool and just sit there, auto queue. Or if you're playing Sion and you want to perfectly learn how to queue and get a knock up the second it allows the knock up to happen. In practice tool, you can literally sit there for 10 minutes, get like 100 reps or more, way more than that, like 500 reps. Most important one is probably GP. The Gangplank barrels, if you're a GP main, you should be spending 5 minutes every single day, at least, practicing your barrels and getting good at them in practice tool so that you can use it for Summoner's Rift. So things like kiting, barrels, Sion Qs, almost every champion has something you can practice in practice tool, is really, really good, right? And also, practicing new builds and stuff and theory crafting on your one trick, because the better you get at your champion, the more niche situations you're able to, encounter and make the most out of that situation. So yeah, I think practice tool definitely for me goes into A tier. Next up, we got taking breaks. Taking breaks is so insanely broken. Touching grass for even if it's just 40 minutes and then coming back to playing League, like your mental focus will be at the top again. So I don't know how people sometimes do like 12-hour sessions. Like, you're crazy to me. I need breaks. Like, if I don't take a break, I'll go from playing like a challenger to playing like a bronze player if I don't take a break, and I'll just be really tilted as well. So I think it differs per person, but I would say taking breaks is S tier because of how the human brain works. You just need. It's almost like if you imagine studying for 6 hours straight without breaks. It's like that's like kind of the same as playing League, and sometimes even like taking month-long breaks or like week-long breaks from League just to get back into enjoying the game again because your relationship with the game got a little bit skewed. Definitely important. So S tier. Goals. Now, setting goals, in my opinion, is really not good, and the reason is if you set a goal for yourself, you're always going to be disappointed, right? And you're going to put a pressure on yourself. And then with everything else I said in this tier list, when you're playing the game, not because you want to, but because you feel like you have to, because you set a goal and you haven't reached it yet, is toxic, right? And so instead of setting goals, you want to set systems. Following a set of systems allows you to reach your goal given due time. So setting a system such as, I'm going to set a learning objective, and the first game is going to be on the first 2 games maybe are going to be on my Smurf account, and then the next 2 blocks of the day, so the next 6 games, are going to be on my main. I'm going to implement those things and try to get better at them. And slowly but surely, I'm going to improve and improve and improve. And at some point, I'm going to hit my rank goal, and that's kind of how you should approach it. And this, I've encountered a lot of students who have this, they set like a challenge or like they make a bet with friends, and then it becomes like a goal to get a higher rank. And now their relationship with the game is like kind of weird because they are in a time crunch and now they need to improve fast and they get tilted and everything. Goals there are very few people who actually benefit from this. So I'm going to put goals in D tier. You have to set systems, not goals. D tier where it belongs. There you go. All right. Smurfing. Now, unless you're Gargamel, you don't really mind smurfing too much. To the point, you're not gonna like sit here and like, oh, it's immoral to smurf, so I'm not gonna smurf myself. Everyone has smurf accounts. Come on, guys. So the way I see smurfing is you should use it to practice things that you normally would find too hard to practice on your main account. Because the games are just harder, right? So same thing as I said in the previous tiers. If you want to practice something like a new champion, you should go on a Smurf. If you want to practice a new skill like level up timers, you should go on a Smurf. If you want to simply have fun with the game and you're not really in a tryhard mood, but you still want to play, go on a Smurf. Smurfing, for me, it's B tier. Actually, I'll put Smurfing in A tier because, yeah, it's more important than the others. For sure, it's A tier, yeah. All right, streamer mode. Now, I already mentioned this one with what's it called? Where did I mention? I mentioned this one before. Streamer mode. I think you need to use this. I think streamer mode is going into B tier. There's no downside to using streamer mode. There are only really benefits from streamer mode. So I'm not really sure why you wouldn't use it unless you're like someone who wants to make a name for themselves in high elo. Other than that, it's really nice because people can't flame you for your rank and stuff like that. And it's just like no distractions. So in my opinion, just play with streamer mode, not really much to add to that conversation. Next up, we got diet. Now, this is the final tier. Diet is something that you discover along the way. It's a pretty long process to understand which foods make you play better, which foods make you play worse, but it's definitely a real thing. For example, at first, when I played League, I played better on an empty stomach because my body was used to that. And then I realized it's not really healthy for me to do that, to never eat. So I started eating, and then I had to figure out what kind of food impacted my body what way. If I ate a lot of carbohydrates, then I would play with higher energy than if I only ate protein. And then if I sat there and ate pork, if I ate any kind of pork, I would play like shit. If I ate acai bowls, I would play like shit. So certain foods make me really tired and tilted, especially foods with a lot of fat and a lot of oil. And other foods like high in fiber and carbohydrates make you play really well, especially combined with coffee. So for me, that's what I prefer to eat. So I like eating bread. I like eating cheese. I like eating fruit. I like eating honey and yogurt as well, with some granola and stuff like that. Some carbs with some proteins mixed together. So yeah, I think it's important to find out kind of what makes you click. Just maybe track what you eat in a day and see if your performance got better or worse. And So for me, it's going into C tier. Not as important as the others, but definitely not that bad. Alright guys, so that is the tier list. If you don't agree with anything or you think I forgot anything, please mention it in the comments. That is it for me. If you want to see more educational and entertaining content, make sure to subscribe. Coaching in the bio below as well. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.